Hello, everyone, and welcome to Walking Through the Bible. When times are bad, it can be very easy to believe that God does not see or that God does not care. Because after all, if God cared, wouldn't he remove this suffering? Or wouldn't he at least lessen this suffering or shorten this suffering? And if God is against the wicked, why then does he let them seemingly get away with causing the suffering of the righteous? Does he not see their blasphemies? But while this might seem like a natural thing to do, as we discuss in Psalm 73, it is rather foolish, for God does see. However, it is not wrong to pray to God for deliverance and relief, as the psalmist does here in Psalm 74. We just need to be careful on the language we use, that it doesn't cross over into questioning God's motives, rather than simply praying for relief. So if you have a Bible with you, turn to the book of Psalms, to Psalm 74. We're going to be reading from verses 1 to 17. If you don't have a Bible, don't worry, just follow along with us on the screen. The version that we'll be reading from is the New King James Version. So, Psalm 74, beginning at verse 1. A contemplation of Asaph. O God, why have you cast us off forever? Why does your anger smoke against the sheep of your pasture? Remember your congregation which you have purchased of old, the tribe of your inheritance which you have redeemed. This Mount Zion where you have dwelt. Lift up your feet to the perpetual desolations. The enemy has damaged everything in the sanctuary. Your enemies roar in the midst of your meeting place. They set up their banners for signs. They seem like men who lift up axes among the thick trees. And now they break down its carved work all at once with axes and hammers. They have set fire to your sanctuary. They have defiled the dwelling place of your name to the ground. They said in their hearts, let us destroy them altogether. They have burned up all the meeting places of God in the land. We do not see our signs. There is no longer any prophet, nor is there any among us who knows how long. O God, how long will the adversary reproach? Will the enemy blaspheme your name forever? Why do you withdraw your hand, even your right hand? Take it out of your bosom and destroy them. For God is my king from of old, working salvation in the midst of the earth. You divided the sea by your strength. You broke the heads of the sea serpents in the waters. You broke the heads of Leviathan in pieces and gave him as food to the people inhabiting the wilderness. You broke open the fountain and the flood. You dried up the mighty rivers. The day is yours. The night also is yours. You have prepared the light and the sun. You have set all the borders of the earth. You have made summer and winter. 3 periods have been given as to when this psalm was written. The first period is the time of the invasion of Shishak during the days of Rehoboam. The second period is the Babylonian conquest. And the third period is the early Maccabean era, or the reign of Judas Maccabeus. In favor of the first is the superscription of the psalm in saying that this is the contemplation of Asaph. Asaph lived during the reign of David, but could have been quite young then, survived the 40 years of Solomon's reign and the beginning of Rehoboam's reign when Shishak attacked in the 5th year of Rehoboam. But while this could all indeed be true, all other things point against the first conclusion. There is no evidence that Shishak ever entered Jerusalem. He certainly did not break down the carved work of the temple or set the temple on fire, much less cast it down to the ground. His invasion was a mere raid, and Rehoboam seems to have bought his retreat by the sacrifice of the temple treasury. The circumstances described in the psalm are also unsuitable for the reign of Judas Maccabeus, in whose time the temple suffered desecration at the hands of the Syrians, but was not seriously damaged, but much less demolished. Thus, the only date suitable for the writing of the psalm is that immediately following the capture of the city under Nebuchadnezzar. How then is the superscription to be dealt with? Because it says it was the psalm written by Asaph. But let's remember that even in the days of Ezra and Nehemiah, the sons of Asaph and Jeduthun and Heman were still working in the temple as singers. Thus, a name like Asaph became like a tribal name, attaching to all the descendants of the original Asaph, and was equivalent to son of Asaph. Thus, this Asaph didn't need to be the literal Asaph, and given the circumstances, most certainly wasn't, but was one of his descendants. Coming to the psalm itself, we can see in its tone that the writer is in anguish. If this is written at the time of the Babylonian conquest, the psalmist knows why Israel was punished, but is confused as to perhaps why it was punished so harshly and whether this punishment would ever end. The temple in which the presence of God dwelt had been burned to the ground, with the sanctuary being completely destroyed. All of the furnishings of the temple, if not taken away by Nebuchadnezzar, have been utterly destroyed, and the city of Jerusalem is in ruins. But it didn't just stop there, for punishment came outside Jerusalem to other cities as well. There are no longer any prophets in the land to give them the word of the Lord, nor to tell them how long God's punishment would last. But what is seemingly worse to the psalmist is that those who have been doing these things have been blaspheming the name of God and taking great joy in desecrating God's holy temple. Now, of course, I do find it interesting that the psalmist would be complaining that the Babylonians had been blaspheming God's name when Israel had done the same, which brought down God's wrath in the first place. But I don't believe that the psalmist is complaining that God punished Israel at all, just that he wanted to know when it would end or if it would end. Now, in this, the psalmist knows that God could act to lessen the oppression. God has been king over this earth since the beginning. He has parted seas, can destroy animals, even great animals like Leviathan. Consequently, if you want to learn a little bit more about Leviathan, please watch our lesson on Job 41, which can be found at youtube.com/East End Church of Christ. If God could do all of these things, if he can control day and night and create this earth out of nothing, the psalmist was confident that God could destroy the enemies of Israel. The question is, would he? And if he would, when would he do it? What will that answer be? We'll see if the rest of Psalm 74 can provide us that answer, so we invite you back for the next lesson. With that, our time is up for today. The Lord willing, we hope you'll join us for tomorrow's discussion of Psalm 74, verses 18 to 23, as we continue our walk through the Bible, one verse at a time. We thank you for watching Walking Through the Bible today. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave them below. But if you like this video, we ask that you consider subscribing to our channel so you won't miss out on other videos in our series, as well as share this video among your friends so that the saving message of Jesus Christ can go out to the whole world.